Okay, today we're unpacking the hidden psychological architecture behind why we constantly rewatch our favorite, familiar shows. You know the ones. We're gonna decode the secret language of your behavior and figure out exactly why your brain treats a predictable script like absolute oxygen in a world that's, well, often just way too loud. Picture this, right? You're completely exhausted. You finally crash on the couch after a long, draining day. You open up your streaming app and you instantly scroll right past all the top 10 lists. You completely ignore that intense, trending thriller everyone at the office will not stop talking about. So why do you bypass all that flashy novelty just to click on the exact same show you can already quote by heart?
Well, spoiler alert, you aren't just being lazy, and you definitely aren't being stagnant. Actually, your brain is utilizing a highly sophisticated form of emotional insurance. Seriously. In a world that feels incredibly chaotic, your nervous system is actively seeking a predictability hit just to secure and protect your peace.
Which brings us to the first part of this, the brain's prediction machine. To really wrap our heads around this, we have to look at your brain as a prediction machine. It's constantly forecasting outcomes to keep you safe. When you watch a brand new show, your brain is working overtime to navigate what psychologists call prediction errors. That's basically the gap between what you expect to happen and what actually happens, which creates a subtle startle response. But when you put on an old show, boom, zero prediction error. There are absolutely no unwanted surprises, so it acts as a pure, unfiltered safety signal. All of this certainty creates cognitive ease, which directly lowers our mortality salience. And mortality salience is really just a technical term for that underlying, often subconscious awareness of our own vulnerability. By removing those prediction errors, you are literally giving your nervous system the all clear to stand down. It's like telling your brain, hey, there's no threat here, we're good.
All right, moving into section 2, high sensitivity cognitive load.
This is where the science gets super personal. About 20% of the population has high perceptual sensitivity. And if you're part of that 20%, you don't just walk into a room. You're constantly screenshotting micro-expressions, you're analyzing tonal shifts, and you're effortlessly picking up on tiny daily details that the other 80% completely gloss over. For you, daily life is literally like trying to process a massive, overwhelming 8K IMAX movie, while everyone else around you is happily watching the world in standard 480p. It's a staggering difference in how much data you're taking in.
And here's the kicker. All this intense processing creates an enormous cognitive load. That's the total mental effort your brain uses to process the world around you. So a new show, complete with new faces, new rules, and entirely new emotional stakes, that's just more cognitive load. It's simply way too much mental effort to process after a really demanding day.
And that right there is exactly why choosing an old, familiar show is so necessary. It provides this essential, low-stimulation comfort. It gives you a safe space to basically defragment your mind, kind of like organizing a cluttered computer hard drive, but without the exhausting pressure of having to learn something brand new. Okay, let's look at section 3, finding a virtual sanctuary. Environmental psychology actually identifies a fascinating phenomenon called refuge appeal. Basically, this is our deep-seated evolutionary craving for an enclosed, protected space whenever the outside world feels threatening. Now today, obviously, those external threats aren't predators lurking in the wild, right? Instead, we're hiding from modern beasts, crushing work stress, heavy social expectations, and the relentless, frankly exhausting performance economy of social media. Because of all that, your favorite show steps in to act as a perfectly calibrated virtual sanctuary. It becomes your own customized cave where the lighting, the people, and the outcomes are exactly right. It's that one sacred place where the mask finally comes off and you can just stop performing for an audience.
Let's transition to section 4, seeking perfect emotional resolution.
If you happen to have grown up in an unpredictable or chaotic environment, you likely had to learn how to read a room really early on, and this led to the development of what's called traumatic intelligence. It's this highly tuned radar for sensing danger, born from having to handle adult problems way before you were ready. So for you, this viewing habit, it's actually a learned survival strategy. You see, real life rarely hands us a clean ending or a clearly defined villain. Because of that, your traumatic intelligence deeply craves the perfect, neat emotional resolution that your comfort show guarantees. It is pretty much the ultimate antidote to real-world uncertainty.
By rewatching that familiar resolution over and over again, you're simply allowing your brain to practice the feeling of being okay. You're actively rehearsing safety. How amazing is that?
And finally, section 5, regulating your internal weather. So the next time you hit play on that old episode, I want you to remember something. You aren't avoiding life. You are beautifully regulating your internal weather so that you can show up better tomorrow. You're a whole person recognizing that sometimes the absolute bravest thing you can do is just give yourself a place where you don't have to be on.
If you want to dive deeper into these patterns and start building habits that actually respect your unique nervous system, be sure to check the description below. I've linked a bundle of 7-day guides and planners specifically designed to help you clear out that mental backlog and rebuild your focus.
To wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a thought, and I'd absolutely love to hear your answers down in the comments. What is your personal safe harbor go-to series? And what is the specific moment in it that makes your nervous system finally exhale? Sharing these stories really helps us realize that our habits are just incredibly beautiful ways of taking care of ourselves. Thanks for exploring the secret language of your behavior with me. And remember, it is totally okay to love the world you've built for yourself. Catch you in the next one.